Just do a little bit of journaling, write down some of my thoughts and feelings, which I like to do, then make a plan for the rest of today, or just the plan for the rest of my life, because that's how simple it is.
Is this where the rainbow ends?
Good morning. That clean room didn't last very long, did it? I am on my way out to do some errands. It's Tuesday. You'd be very proud to know that. Probably not proud because this is what every normal person should do. Just about to put some gas in my car because the gas light has gone on again. So I've learnt that means it's almost about to run out, and if it does, then the car will not move. Well, look at me being an adult and putting gas in my car. Learnt my lesson. Not gonna be asking Jeff to come rescue me anytime soon. That'll do, donkey, that'll do. So, going to get some thumbtacks. Most of my days are in West Auckland. I like to, if I can, get out. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just mixes things up a little bit. I'm thinking I'll pop out to a beautiful place of some sort. Mission Bay, that's not that far away. You know what? In the 20-something years that I've lived in New Zealand, I had no idea that that was the name of this spot. Learn something new every day. I'll probably go out there, get a coffee and just kind of sit and look at rangitoto, do a little bit of journaling, write down some of my thoughts and feelings, which I like to do, and then make a plan for the rest of today. I knew I wanted to talk about this at some point because it's been quite a focus in my life recently, but I wasn't sure if it was too much information. But I've just decided today I'm gonna do it because I think that's the problem with anxiety. People that suffer from anxiety will also be anxious about sharing that they're suffering from anxiety. I, until recently, have been a very anxious person, but I thought it was completely normal. I really noticed when I kind of stopped going to social events and catching up with people because it was just too much. So when I chose being at home alone quite a lot over being around other people, I think that's kind of what sparked the questions. I was talking to a friend of mine who is Asperger's. He'd put up a couple of blogs about his experience with that. So when I was reading the blogs, I was like, man, I can identify with a lot of these things. So it kind of got me looking into the autism spectrum. One of the biggest things that jumped out at me was the anxiety. I talked to my GP and said, hey, I've been reading a lot about this and talking to a few people. I'm an anxious person, but I feel like it's been quite extreme lately. It's stopping me from doing things. Oh, I'm feeling anxious just sharing this. So I went to a psychiatrist and just talked to him for like an hour about what goes on in my head on a daily basis. One thing that he asked me at one point was, Shana, do you enjoy things? And I kind of laughed and I was like, do I enjoy? Of course. I sat there for like a good 30 seconds trying to think at this point in time what I enjoyed, what I felt happy doing. I couldn't think of anything. So that was one thing that made me like, what? I was kind of like, yeah, there was this time in January, this like day that I wasn't worried, and then 2010 was a good year. That was huge. I thought I was quite a happy, bubbly person, but to think that I worry every minute of every day. I've always felt like I'm rushing to keep up with everyone and to keep up with everything. It gets to an extreme. Like I used to be at work 45 minutes early just because I need that time, and I need to know that everything is sorted and okay and that I'm not going to screw something up. I used to not only set an alarm to like leave for work, I used to set an alarm to start thinking about getting ready to leave for work. Social anxiety, like just always worrying about what someone is thinking, how they're interpreting what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I was never present in a conversation because I'm worrying about that conversation. Straight after the conversation, I'm worrying about what just happened, and then worrying about what's about to happen. Where do I sit? Who do I sit with? Who do I talk to? What do I say? And there's been several times in my life that I've had panic attacks. Driving, exams, being in crowds, in a situation where I know I can't make a scene, and then I just end up fainting because I get so overwhelmed. At the end, he was like, yeah, okay, so we'll start you on 10 milligrams. And I suddenly started feeling anxious about saying that I was anxious. When I realized that the amount that I was worrying was more than the average person worries, it was so enlightening, and the fact that I could do something about it was amazing. And my life is changing, like it really is. Talking to someone about it and being on medication, it's night and day the difference that I am feeling. I started on medication 5 weeks ago. I noticed literally the day of taking my first pill, noticed the difference in my mind. My worries have always been this massive storm cloud that's just like brewing, like sitting there and looming. I can't decipher what the different things are that I'm worrying, and I can't prioritize my worries. Like I can't figure out what's significant and where I should start with even dealing with them, and so it just becomes too much. So I just end up not doing anything because I'm just sitting in a corner like paralyzed with fear. As soon as I started taking the medication, it's like the big storm cloud turned into all these little clouds. So the things that I was worrying about were still there, but I could actually put a label on them, and I was able to be like, oh well, that's just a time thing, like it's just going to take some time, so that's fine. And then that I can't really deal with that today because I've got this and this, but I can deal with that on Sunday. And it was really interesting because I could be rational about the worries. The other thing I noticed was like I could take deep breaths instead of short breathing all the time, or gritting my teeth all the time, or like my furrowed brow. That is what the inside of my head was doing all the time, just like released. Sometimes I pop over to the spa and just kind of sit there for a few minutes and then get out, get changed, go home. Normally, like, there's people having conversations, I'll hear conversations happening. It's kind of all just a blur, constant noise, not literal noise, but it pretty much feels that way. This time I was sitting there, and as you do in a conversation, you like talk and then there's space, and then you talk, respond, and then there's space. In that space, all I could hear was the water kind of bubbling. There was just clear space. I hadn't experienced that before. Like I was like, I can hear silence. I must always be so in my head and so thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. That was that moment in January that I remember in Paihia, and I went for like an hour-long walk along the waterfront. I stopped at this point and just looked out at the water. I could hear the water lapping against the rocks, and it was the strangest thing. I couldn't figure out what it was back then, but it was just a moment of peace. And this is what I felt in the spa. I was like, I feel at peace. What is this? Strange, curious. It's only in retrospect, now that I'm experiencing calmness, that I can see how intense the anxiety has been for as long as I can remember. But the reason why I'm choosing to talk about this now is I was just sitting at Mission Bay, this stunning place that I've been to a million times. For once was just able to be present and take in and absorb everything that was happening around me, like the water, the view, the pigeon doing a funny walk in front of me, the seagulls flying around almost like slow motion, the little smiley toddler that ran past. Actually able to take all that in and enjoy it, particularly yesterday and today. You may have noticed in my vlog yesterday, I was quite happy about the sun and the weekend and all of this. It's just amazing to feel happy. It's amazing to be enjoying friends and views and music again, and like, I'm excited about life again, and just I feel like for so long I've been in this slump. I don't know if this is going to change tomorrow, but I'm so grateful for the support that I've had around me and the support that's available. I feel so fortunate to have had help. I know it's hard to ask for help because you're always thinking about the fact that there's someone worse off, but man, like, so thankful that this has been discovered now, because I think life is just going to be so much more full. It's really cool.
Tears dry
Feeling calm and feeling peace.
on your daughter's cheek.
And obviously things are still going to be stressful at times. They are, and they have been still. But I can see what the worries are, and therefore they're so much more approachable rather than just this big overwhelming clump of it's like a maths equation. Yeah, I really was not sure about sharing this because it is such a new thing to me. As I said, like, I've been worrying for as long as I can remember, so it's only in the past month or so it's sinking in that, oh, don't worry, we can actually do something about this. Well, that was a bit of real talk, eh? I think my camera got a bit overwhelmed. It was like, Shana, TMI, and then it just stopped recording. So I'm sure there's many people who won't feel they want or need or would benefit from an official diagnosis or having a label, but I'm just, for my own self-awareness and understanding, I'm stoked to have been able to have help. Thank you for listening to my experience of anxiety. I'll see you tomorrow for VEDA Day 12.